It's usually to do with open and promise and community, something like that. And they try in the way that IBM does, or to a certain extent even Red Hat's doing the same type of thing now, to tell you, we have patents, but the patents are to defend you, and the patents are good ones, and and nothing will happen to you because of our patents. Now, it's very much akin to countries just retaining some nuclear weapon somewhere and saying, oh, it's just as a deterrent, it's just because we need some protection and to keep things stable. But I don't really believe in that. The real solution, which some companies might say is impractical, is to just really fight strongly in a united way, in unison, to abolish software patents. I think lots of people know that, but some people don't understand because of the approaches adopted by the competitors of the FSF, especially the OSI. They don't do enough to explain to people, look, we've got this thing called software patents and we have to get rid of them as soon as possible. Not enough people do that, and the reason they don't do that, I think the OSI, is because they still rely on some companies injecting some money into them. And some of these companies usually tend to include Oracle and IBM and these companies, and they are not against software patents. Maybe they used to be. In the case of Oracle, they used to make a statement against that, but they just abuse these things. So if they want to stay relevant, they have to basically suck up to these companies. They have to adopt the same sort of policies they do. If they don't, they'll just become obsolete. They'll just go out of business because they won't be receiving funds. And that's really the sad thing about political movements too sometimes, is that they have to be at the service of somebody with money, with power, with even corruption in some case, which has something to do with how they make money. It can be oil companies or something. Otherwise, no problem, they just go out of existence. And this is the sad thing about what happens to be a case where just about every grassroots movement becomes polluted by AstroTurf. Even Greenpeace, I understand to an extent, is funded by some interests to do with the energy companies, and they try to use Greenpeace as a tool to sway people to favor one source of energy over another. So it's a really complicated thing with patents in general. And Google, and going back to Google, Google is just one of those companies that will try to get patents. Now they want to get about 9,000, is it 6,000? 9,000, I think 6,000 patents. And they're willing to spend like $1 billion on it just to say, we are Google. And all of a sudden, we don't really hate patents because we have loads of them. And we feel very safe now because we have loads of them. If you're a small company, screw you.
Well, we'll look forward to reading the article on that on your site, Roy. Just very quickly, we've got something else that's caught my eye. Normally, I don't like mentioning how-to articles because they tend to be very cut and paste from somewhere else. But there's been a very good one written by John O'Bacon, How to Get a Career in Open Source. That link is going to be on the show notes, and he's written that on Tech Radar, so that's worth a read. And certainly, I think everybody knows who John O'Bacon is, apart from having the band 750. He's also the community manager for Ubuntu. So he shares some of his opinions and secrets on this article. It's a very good read, so I recommend that. Gordon, anything that takes your eye before we finish up with the closing comments for the evening?
John O'Bacon is actually the fake Bono Jakin. That's the one I got last time. Right. I was kidding. No, there's actually two stories about the RIAA that kind of, they both hit around about the same time, and it just shows you how ridiculous it is. First off, well, we'll include the links into the show notes. First off, the RIA spent a long time suing various peer-to-peer services and all this, and one of them was LimeWire, and they now want $75 trillion. I was going to put on the Dr. Evil voice there. $75 trillion. Now, think about this. The gross domestic product of the US is 14 trillion. Right, the gross domestic product of the entire planet is estimated to be around about 64 or something trillion, and the RIA thinks it's entitled to 75 trillion, more than the entire gross domestic product of the entire planet
Yeah,
And the
that's
damages.
Sony, right? That's Sony, by the way. When you say RAA,
Yeah, exactly.
it is Sony and friends. It's BMG and all these companies.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. Right? Yeah, I know. That's it.
But
What planet are they on?
don't say Sony because it's bad PR. So don't mention Sony. It is Sony, but just don't mention.
Yeah, so that was one of them. It's totally absurd numbers. I mean, even the judges laughed at that. And what are you on? You know, but I'll pay it in installments, £10 a week. How's that sound? You know? So that was one just bizarre story. And the other one is a lot of the stuff, the MPAA and the RIA and all the stuff like that, that goes on kind of under the radar, away from the mainstream. It's people like us that are aware of just how harmful they are to innovation and how anything even remotely new comes along and they'll immediately squash it. They'll crush it with license fees, they'll demand it goes out of business and whatever. But it's gradually coming to the attention of the mainstream. And there's a post on big content is strangling American innovation. And it's various examples of the RIA and the MPAA just absolutely refusing point blank to do anything other than insist on litigation. They have no intention of innovating this. They're afraid of it. They just cannot handle it. So that's an interesting read. There's just two stories about the RIAA and MPAA.
Well, those links, like Gordon said, will be in the show notes. I've got quite a comprehensive list. I think this is one of the records we've run for the show for the amount of links to different topics we've covered, and certainly it was a little bit different at the end to have a glancing blow over the topics of the day, some of which were just literally hot off the press as we're recording this show. A couple of things.
I was going to say, if you want hot off the press, I just checked on Identica there. I've not clicked the link yet. There's something about the FSF.org on one of their blogs. It says internet user arrested for linking to other websites.
Well, and two right.
Yeah, we spoke about this earlier. Is it to do with copyrights? You probably haven't linked on it. You probably haven't clicked on it.
I've not clicked on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it.
I don't ruin the title, Gordon. I think that was quite good as it stood. I quite like that. It probably will come to that eventually.
Be careful what you. Yeah, we were passing some links before. It's one of the. I'm not going to mention anything, and I don't think we were going to. But there is a person who we're not sure if it's a troll or a person trying to create some trouble to promote herself. But there is somebody who's arresting one of the forums to do with the Linux distribution, which we probably shouldn't name. And that lady is basically being very, very unreasonable and very crazy when it comes to the claims made. And eventually we actually passed around the links to the site. And then I just said to Tim and to Gordon, I said, well, look, the fact that we're even talking about this and passing the links, that says that this lady apparently was trying to provoke to get more attention, but is obviously accomplishing what she's trying to do because people are eventually talking about this site and these ridiculous claims and everything else.
Well, I think it'll certainly, because I mean, me and Roy Gordon, I think, has been reading about this person for a while. I mean, Roy just got the links today, but I think for the next show, certainly by that time, myself and Roy will have had a flick through the channel and that she has on MySpace, YouTube, and we'll be able to have seen some of the videos in context and not third hand, and we can make a decent comment on it next episode, I think, because I'm actually quite looking forward to looking at some of these bizarre claims. It's certainly going to be quite interesting. We've seen our fair share of bizarre claims over the past. Just very briefly, I just wanted to throw in very quickly was something I noticed. Now, I know we don't particularly like naming any of the trolls that infest the forums and the Linux news groups, etc. And I'm not going to name anybody here, but I just wanted to make an observation. I remember I've been in the forums and news groups for quite a few years, and I don't post at all. I just like reading the responses that some of these win trolls, as they're called. That's probably a very unfair term, but trolls reading what they respond to and how they respond to different topics, and it's very interesting because you know what subjects will get reaction and how strong that reaction will be, and you can often tell the subjects that they're most worried about because of the strength of the answer that they give back to the person posting about them. For example, Windows Phone 7, you start posting about that maybe not being very popular at all, and you know you're going to get a strong attack. But the one thing I have noticed in say 2008, maybe even going back a bit before that, we used to just see the comment, there is no future in Linux, that type of suggestion. Linux